Welcome to Fjook Enterprises Conversations with Fjook, the weekly show where I interview someone about stuff they are passionate about. Today I am interviewing a fellow Canadian, StayandPlay, who has been shouted out several times by someone else I've interviewed, Crash Test.
Well, I appreciate the shout outs. Hello.
And we are talking about Paladins, Champions of the Realm, believe is the full name of the game.
I think so, yeah, made by Mojo. Right.
Welcome, heroes and villains, to Fjook Enterprises YouTube channel. Take a moment, relax, stop your bickering, and just enjoy the show. What type of game is Paladins Champions of the Realm?
It's kind of an arena style game where you pick a role, and while helping your team, you work to accomplish an objective of some sort. There is a team deathmatch style, but for the most part, go capture this objective, kill people, etc.
Like I typically do when I don't know about a franchise, I tend to do a bit of lore before I figure out what questions to ask, and from my research, I've done the two main factions, the Magistrate and the Resistance. Mind going over who they are?
So in the beginning, there was a type of civil war, a type of civil unrest. And in order to stop this, there was a group of people looking to save others and help others, and they were formed as the Paladins. These group of champions who would help defend the weak. And without getting too into that, after that initial war ends, the remnants of the Paladins form the Magistrate to take over for the old kings and rulers that were very corrupt. So that is how the Magistrate formed. The resistance only formed later due to the discovery of crystal magic and the validity that it could risk, that it could cause. So after so many accidents, the magistrate bans the use of crystal magic. Um, and because crystal magic, it's not like this isn't like a gun and a bullet to a human being. This is like a supercomputer to a human being. Like, yes, this could be dangerous, but at the same time, this could save people. This could completely change the way we live. And due to that, a lot of the people believe that banning crystal magic is offensive to the people. It is directly impeding them at life, impeding their progress. So the resistance is fighting the magistrate for the sake that, or for the sake of allowing crystal magic to be used by all. The magistrate solely, by banning it, wants to solely control it for themselves to prevent harm. But that's for interpretation.
A call from reading the lore, the other groups. Is that, if that's accurate, do you have a favorite with the other groups at all?
I would say there's about two other groups. There are your neutral entities, your bounty hunters, your ninjas, your people who aren't directly affected. They're merely affected by the fact that there's a war. So they don't have a loyalty to the magistrate or the resistance. They are going to work for whoever benefits themselves the most. And I would say that, yeah, the neutral hunters are probably my favorite group. The other group is the Abyss, which they figure out. I mean, I guess adjectively they'd be the abyssal. So like the abyssal entities are from obviously the abyss, and they discovered in trying to win this war against the resistance, the magistrate. It gets a little complicated, but the person in charge of the magistrate at the time is tricked by one of the abyssals, who tells him like, "Hey, there is tons of power in the abyss. It would easily help you win. All you got to do is open it." And Crow thought to himself, like, yeah, I'd rather win than lose all my loved ones. So he opens the abyss, not realizing he has caused a massive problem because the abyss doesn't care about either side. They just want the realm itself. So Ceres tricks, can't say Ceres. The Oracle of the Abyss tricks Crow into opening the gate, and by doing so, destroys the city of Ceres. Like, the city of Ceres is obliterated by the Abyss. So the Oracle takes the name, and she goes by Ceres now. So the Abyss is probably they're probably better than the Magistrate, but who's to say? I'd say I like the neutral people because they don't really pick a side. They more look at the situation, decide is this good or bad for people, and they act accordingly. Good or bad, it's always a personal level. So I guess they're my favorite. I don't really like the government.
It seems that the role is completely different than Overwatch, but it seems the mechanics and the types of characters, tank, healer, support, is the same as Overwatch. Would that be accurate?
I would say it is in an objective sense. And I say that having played both and knowing that when the betas came out for both games, Blizzard, having more money, was able to get their game from a beta state to a playable release state quicker than Evil Mojo was, being the smaller company. But Evil Mojo's beta technically started a few months before Overwatch became a thing. That was when I was playing. Like, I watched Overwatch come out and I was like, oh, hey, cool, it's a new Paladins game. Like, I'll play this new Paladins game. Not realizing it would become like the game for legend fights. So when it comes to roles, most of the roles are very similar. And I think that's a good thing because there aren't too many, and each role has not one, but usually two different things they can be doing. So you're never locked out of a game.
Is Paladin on multiple platforms, and does it cross-platform well?
Normally I would say it is on all platforms, but doesn't cross-play very well. Based on which device you were on. So a Nintendo to console works fine, but Nintendo to PC doesn't work as smoothly. That said, they just patched it today, I believe, for full crossplay to work properly. So hopefully that works, because PS4 to PC is the only one they've had trouble with transferring data for. So the patch today says that they have fixed a lot of that stuff, and I'm really hoping that I can start playing with the 5th gen console players and PC players alike, being in 4th gen. I do play on PC as well, but I don't really have connection problems with PC. The PC usually connects to everything just fine. Again, minus Nintendo. My Switch doesn't like playing with PC. So I'd say it's at like about an 8 out of 10 for terms of quality crossplay. There's still a bit of bugs, but it is at a very playable state.
From what I can gather from talking to you, there's an ongoing story. Do you have a favorite plot point in that story?
And that's let me get his name right, Atlas. And Atlas is kind of like a Warhammer style space marine kind of dude, and he's from the future. And in the future, we fucking lose. We lose so badly. Humanity's pretty much extinct at this point. So he's like, okay, we're not winning. We very much so lost. So I'm gonna open this hole and I'm gonna jump through time and I'm gonna go tell everybody y'all fucked up and you're gonna continue to fuck up if you don't listen to me. So I really like that whole, like, hey, by the way, the human way, it's not gonna work. We need to do this the smart way. We need to do this better. Because if we keep fighting each other, they're just gonna take over everything while we're distracted. So we gotta work together. And he succeeds when he gets back. He convinces people. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds believable. There's some crazy monsters starting to pop up, and this war's been going on for a few years now. Like, this being the end of us, yeah, that sounds like that could happen. And people actually start to listen. The Magistrate and the Resistance, people from both are just like, okay, Atlas, if you're saying this is happening, like, show us what to do then. And sure enough, by him intervening, the Abyss tries to hit twice as hard to like, oh shit, they're not distracted anymore. Well, I guess we better try to kill them. So then we get a demon demigod come out, Yagarath, and she's trying to fight us. And it's a pretty cool plot point. I think we just beat her. And as because she's a demigod demon. So we had one of the demigods from the pyre, the equivalent of heaven. He came down, Azan, and he came to help us. And he metaphorically bitch slaps Yagarath back into the abyss, just in time for Nyx, the queen of all the abyss, to come up and bitch slap him. So we're in a bit of a situation right now. Kind of have to.
Do you have a main that you play most of the time? And if you do you mind telling us the story?
I'm gonna try my best because unlike I'm not bashing Overwatch here. I do like Overwatch. I love Tracer, I love Diva, I like my Overwatch characters, but with Overwatch it's way easier to focus on one main character. Like it's eons easier to just be like, "Oh, I'm a Diva main. I always play Diva." Like that is not the case in Paladins. You don't get that choice. You can't always use the champion because you like it. Sometimes you'll be playing one of the locked modes, which means that if you don't have that champion yourself, like you haven't purchased it with the in-game currency that you earn for free, then you can't use it. There are some open unlock modes where you can use any champion, but then there are bans available. So I hate Talus. The Draken are very dangerous, so I ban Talus like right out the gate if it's an option, or even Terminus. They're both really hard to fight. So if you like playing those characters, you're gonna have to think of another way to deal with this. So when you're asking me what my main is, like, well, my main is Kira and Maeve and Vivian and Evie. And I'm not even gonna go into any more because that's generally what I play is damage or flank. Maeve is a neutral bounty hunter. She has no sides. She has a magical cape. She's French. She ended up breaking into the magistrate. Supposedly. She was never caught. But supposedly she broke into the magistrate. And as a faunus, she's a cat human. She prowled through the shadows and stole a very specific invisibility cloak. And I mean like cloak, not like Harry Potter cloak. Like it is like a, what would you call them? A long coat, an overcoat. Like it's a garb that goes right down to her feet and it has magical properties where it'll create this glistening shadow effect. So it appears like there's darkness in this area. So she managed to steal this. Just because she is someone who likes prizes. She's someone who enjoys going for what she wants of her own volition. She doesn't really like asking for help unless necessary. So this was her prize for getting through the toughest armory in all the realm and not even being caught for it. So she feels she earned that cape, and she uses the cape to help her, I guess. She's quite small. She's about 3.5 feet tall. A Tigran, or what they're called in this world. So she's a very tiny Tigran. She's a very small little chick with pink hair. But at the end of the day, she doesn't want evil to prevail. She doesn't want the bad guys to win. She just kind of wants to do her own thing. So when all this shit's kind of happening, she's like in a nutshell, y'all are taking up my precious thieving time by being here. When it comes to the other three, Vivian is, I'm going to keep these ones short. Vivian's a woman who is a high-ranking officer. She has an ulterior motive that nobody knows about. It doesn't tell you what it is exactly. But someone knows about her past. That person who knows about her past works in the magistrate. So her entire goal was to get to the highest position she could in the magistrate and make them disappear. So she works for the magistrate, technically. Tyra did as well. She's kind of like a Viking. But as soon as the magistrate decided, no, crystal magic, you guys are too dumb to use it. You're going to hurt yourselves. She took exception to that. So she immediately left the magistrate as soon as that decision was made to go fight for the resistance. And I really like her Viking style. The last one's Evie. which is a tricky one. She doesn't have a side, nor does she give a fuck. She she trapped a very powerful ice elemental while she was an apprentice. She got lucky because of her wit, not because of her skill. But because she was smart enough, she tricked a fucking ice elemental into the stone, and she now uses it to be an ice queen, to be an ice witch. And it completely increased her power. She stopped being an apprentice and kind of just fucked off from school. But it's like, there's no guarantee that stays in that stone. Like, they're not permanent encasings. So, I do like a few characters, but Maeve's my favorite.
By the sounds of it, you really enjoy the lore of this game.
I do. It's good lore.
And it also sounds like you've been playing since as soon as you could.
Yeah, I started in the closed beta, and right before they moved to open beta, they even removed the Founders Pack, which was a special like in-store thing that you could get while in the open beta for people who supported the game. It's now called something else. It's called like the Champion Starter Pack instead, because it's no longer the Founders Pack at the price it was for what you got. Now it's like twice the cost. You get almost half of what it was. So I've been playing the game on and off for like 5 years now since its release. I've watched every champion come in, and on and off, I've been watching all the lore like kind of kick off. We got a new one today, so I'm pretty happy to play that. It's a masquerade now, so.
So, can you change the loadout of a champion to change how they play?
Very much so, yes. So we'll use Maeve as an example since I went more into depth with her. She's your typical D&D rogues, right? So she uses sneak, she uses crits, she uses 2 daggers. So this character can be made a few different ways. Since the loadouts are made with cards instead of actual items, you don't have to really worry too much about the balancing of stuff. The game has covered that for you. You're allowed a max of 5 cards. You need a minimum of, I think, 3. And each loadout can have a max of 5 points per card, with a total max of 15 points in the whole list. So let's say one says attack damage is increased by 5%. It's good for a rogue. That's level 1. At level 2, it'll say 10%. At level 3, it'll say 15%, etc. It'll max out, we'll say at 25. So if I level this all the way up to level 5, then I have 5 of my 15 points, and this can now add 25% to my attack speed. So with that in mind, I could make Maeve a quick attack kind of character. I could try to make it so that she can use her invisibility more often. I could give her increased movement speed so she can bounce around a lot, or I could just try to increase her crit damage or just her base damage. You know, and there's all these different ways you can kind of create your character, so you don't have to always play it as one role. Like if you're playing TDM, maybe you want more damage because all you're really doing is killing people. But if you're playing a type of payload event, type of siege event, where you got to move the objective from one point to another, or you got to even hold that objective, like domination in Call of Duty, well, maybe you don't want damage. Maybe now you want to have health recovery. Maybe now you want to have more movement speed. And because of these options, you can really bend the character's abilities to the mode that you're playing at the time. So I find the diversity is quite good, and it's very easy to understand these playouts or these playlists. Brain English. These loadouts with these cards, they're usually not more than a sentence or two, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, you move faster, or you deal more damage. So of those 5 cards that you can choose, there are 5 cards per each of your 4 skills. Each champion has 4 things they can use, whether it's an attack or a heal or whatever. When you go to make your playlist or your loadout or whatever, each card will have, or each ability will have 5 options for card. So with Maeve, we'll say like it'll be like daggers, invisibility, movement, something else, right? So for the daggers, it'll be like, oh, you attack faster, or you deal more damage, or you have extra ammo in your clip or whatever. And it'll just, these are your options for this weapon. And then here's your options for this weapon. So you can decide, I hate this first weapon. I only use these weapons. So I'm going to make the character this way instead. So I feel it's hit a completely new level than I have even the option to utilize in games like Overwatch or Smite or other things like that. I don't think like I have nearly as many choices. It's like, oh, I'm running a tank. Well, I guess I have to do tank things then because this isn't Paladins. In Paladins, my tank could just be a support character, or they could be the distraction, or they could, whatever, be the person to hold the point just long enough to then go be the flank. I like the options there, and it makes it so that unplayable characters become playable.
With how little I know about this game and with how little I know about this genre of game and this game in particular, and how much you seem to know, I could probably ask you 10, 20 more questions. But I'm going to end it here with my question that I always end my interviews with. Anyone or anything you would like to shout out at this time?
I don't think so per se. I mean, other than the fact that Alberta's burning right now, so like any support to Alberta people is probably helpful. Cinder's one of them. Other than that, no, I love everyone equally. Everyone's lovely.
Hopefully by the time this video gets into my schedule, gets edited and put into my scheduling, Alberta won't be burning anymore. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed it won't be burning anymore. Yeah, other than that, I think the only person I would give a shout out to is a very particular friend who goes through the same kind of things I go through. So a shout out to her for helping, just get me through the days sometimes. Her name's Sarah Bunny, so not going to give her real name. But Sarah Bunny, she's amazing, and she's always the person you need to hear when it's just like, man, today sucks. I really don't want to keep going. It's like, but you're amazing and you can keep going. So
Everyone needs a friend like that.
right? So I shout out Sarah and all the other friendly bunnies that people may know.
I highly recommend you go check out StayandPlay's YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description, as well as my Discord and my other social media will be linked in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.